Greetings from the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Angels in downtown Los Angeles, California. My name is Sal Soria, the cathedral's organist, and I'm here to tell you about a special musical event, Friday, October 7th, a concert by internationally renowned organist Cherry Rhodes, also adjunct professor of organ at the University of Southern California's Thornton School of Music. A world premiere she'll be playing by composer Father Joseph Walter from the Diocese of Buffalo, New York. Father Walter is here with us today to explain to us a little bit about this world premiere. Father Walter, welcome.
Thank you, Sal. The piece that's being premiered is called Chorale, Diferencias and Glosas on Puer Natus in Bethlehem. Puer Natus in Bethlehem is a Gregorian chant piece, goes back centuries, and it's that piece that provides the foundational material for the piece. The piece itself talks about a boy is born for us, a child is born for us in Bethlehem, and then it asks all of Jerusalem to rejoice. The text repeats that theme quite a bit. Now, you might have noticed in the title it says Chorale, Diferencias and Glosas. Those are three different styles of writing within this piece. So the piece is all based on that.
Interesting.
It's has some moments, it has the tenderness of the child, Christ child in its mother's arms. And at other moments it has bursts of power, extended sections of Christ coming to heal the universe, to make what's wrong right. So it has majesty and power, but it also has much tenderness in it too. These various forms afforded me the opportunity to try to express that musically.
So the thematic material is ancient chant.
That's right. It's all derived from chant, but treated in different ways. In some parts, you'll be able to hear the chant melody more obvious in it, and then in other parts, it's more disguised.
Well, I wonder what this all sounds like.
That's a good thing to wonder. Shall I perhaps talk a bit about how the chorale is treated? Is that a good place?
Yes.
That's maybe a good place to start, since the piece begins with a chorale. When you hear hymns played in church, lots of times those are in the form of a chorale. You hear the melody with chords underneath it. And this chant particularly allows you to do that because it's not all over the place like a lot of chant can be. It has one word for every note. For example, Puer Natus in Bethlehem, Alleluia.
Oh, that's a beloved chant.
It's a beautiful chant. I love this thing. Well, I guess I do love this thing, or else I wouldn't have written it. But you'll be able to hear that melody as Miss Rhodes demonstrates it in the opening chorale of the piece.
Great. Beautiful.
The next section that you hear after each chorale, each phrase of the chant goes chorale, diferencia, glossa. Chorale, diferencia, glossa. The diferencias and the glossas are Spanish Renaissance forms. Now, diferencia, you take a little bit, a few notes of that chant, and then you just play it forwards and backwards and inside out and upside down and sort of wring everything that you can out of it musically. And so it's a little bit more fragmented than the chorale is. You have little bits of the chant popping up here and there. And here's an example, a portion of the second diferencia that appears in the piece.
Let's hear it.
The next section of the piece, or the next form of the piece, is called a glossa. And a glossa is taken from the differentia, but then it adds a bunch of ornamentation. When I say ornamentation, think of, we put ornaments on Christmas trees, for example, to kind of pretty it up and make it more fancy. And that's the character of the glossa. You take the differentia, take material from it, and then you put ornaments all around it. Miss Rhodes will be demonstrating the third glossa from this piece.
Okay.
You might have noticed in that glossa, you had all this figuration going on in the fingers, and the melody was in the feet. When I wrote this piece, I was hoping that Miss Rhodes would perform it, and I talked to her beforehand, and I said, is there anything that you might like to feature? She said, oh, if you could feature my feet. There are, after this glossa, you have this chorale, differencia, glossa, and then there comes, after all of that you've gone through the whole chant with those treatments, then comes something called cadenza.
Cadenza?
Which, cadenza, you know, maybe as people have heard concertos where toward the end of the concerto, the soloist takes off and there's a burst of
virtuosity?
Virtuosity is the word, yes indeed. Really takes advantage of the artist's technical skills and musical abilities to dazzle the audience. Miss Rhodes can certainly do that. Parts of it, she is using both feet and no hands at the same time.
Okay.
And so there are several sections in this cadenza that do that. But the cadenza comes out of everything that's gone before it. And I mentioned how the piece sort of shows forth Christ's power and majesty. The cadenza bursts forth when it does that. The beginning of the cadenza, Miss Rhodes will illustrate now.
So, not only is it a fun piece to listen to, but exciting to watch.
Yes.
Here we go, the cadenza, Miss Rhodes. Okay.
That's just how the cadenza begins. The part where she's using both feet is what we're going to hear next. But the other thing that I would like to mention about the cadenza is that Miss Rhodes is one of the most wonderful organists in the world, as far, maybe the most wonderful, as far as like shading and coloring. And this cadenza, ordinarily the composer writes in what sort of sounds he wants to hear. I didn't do that because Miss Rhodes is so good at coloring these things. Ordinarily, the artists used to improvise the cadenza themselves.
Sure.
These notes are written out, but this time the artist is putting the color in herself.
So you had a lot of freedom.
Freedom, you said it, and it was as if this improvisation was there for me to improvise all these colors, and it was a real gift. I have to say, it was a gift, and to be able to expand my imagination like it never went before, because heretofore I've played works, the composers write down an idea of what they want, even dynamics, if not the colors. Here was totally free to do what I wanted to do.
And this organ allows you all those avenues?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I have to say, when Frank Branstad, the artistic music director here, invited me to play here, I was absolutely thrilled because I had been waiting for the perfect organ to premiere this piece. And this is the perfect organ. I know friends of yours said, well, when is she going to play your piece? And you said, she's waiting for the perfect instrument. And here it is, and I'm so grateful to the Cathedral for inviting me, because this instrument is very unusual. It has a harp, it has all sorts of sounds that you don't encounter on other instruments. So now I'm going to demonstrate for you the 2 feet, look ma, no hands.
Oh, wow.
Followed by the harp. And it was interesting to find a place in this music for just that stop. And it's perfect, in my eyes.
Great.
So you go through the whole cadenza, and how do you finish it? The last words of this chant are encouraging all the people of God to sing to God a new song. Cum novo cantico. That chant ends. And this is the part where I think it's pretty much virtuoso writing through this whole cadenza. But here's how it comes to a conclusion. I think it'll speak for itself.
The exciting finish.
This is sort of the last hurrah of this piece, and so I decided to begin it coming out of nowhere, having a full sound, and then have a mysterious sound coming out of that full sound. And you'll see, but I will do the full sound just before the ascent to glory here.
Cherry Rhodes, thrilling indeed. And Father Joseph, it's so wonderful that you could be here from New York to work with Miss Rhodes on this wonderful composition.
It was our gift to be able to come here and come here so early before the concert so that we can, take our time and explore the wonderful pipes and sounds.
Ladies and gentlemen, please mark it on your calendars. Friday, October 7th. What excitement. Also, other music on the program will be music of Daniel Pinkham, Rayner Brown, Olivier Messiaen, and others. Special guest artists, Ladd Thomas performing in an organ duet with Miss Rhodes, and guest saxophone and clarinetist, Doug Masek. So thank you and goodbye.